Okay. Okay, we're going to start now. And last week we spoke about how one should practice humility and what is the way to achieve that. And what the Talmud says, that a person should practice humility to every human being. That includes not only the smart and the talented, but also the lowest of the low, a person who is a sinner. And the way to practice humility is to understand the situation of a sinner. Why is he a sinner? And it's basically two reasons that the Zohar and the Talmud mention. One is the temptations or the circumstances that he surrounds himself. You know, when he goes to work, the daily temptations, the daily negative exposures, right, that one sees on a regular basis, daily, the challenges, and after a while, this will have an effect on him, and he will probably start sinning because there's a limit. You know, when you see something, when you see these negative temptations, you know, on a regular basis, you know, you need to be made out of iron or metal to survive, and so it's hard. So it's got an effect. It will have an effect on the human being. And the next thing that one should also take into account is his evil inclination. The sinner's evil inclinations may be very strong or stronger than mine. And that's why he's sinning, and that's why I am not sinning. If I choose to criticize a sinner, in theory, it means I'm not a sinner. That's why I criticize him. And to stop criticizing somebody, or to stop condemning somebody for sinning, is to understand why he is sinning. And once we understand that, so we understand how hard it is for him, and how hard it is for him to overcome these temptations. It's very, very, very hard, extremely hard. And these challenges and temptations and negative exposures, I don't have. I could be lucky in a sense that I am not exposed to these negative exposures. I am, let's say, I'm a rabbi, I'm a Rosh Yeshiva, or I'm in Stanford Hill where everything is nice and safe and is holy. So, when I criticize someone, why do I criticize? Because I expect his devotion towards God to be strong enough and to overcome the challenges. Yeah. Okay? So I expect him to do better. What will it take for him to overcome these obstacles, including his evil inclination, which could be much stronger than mine? It will take a lot. And the question is on myself now. Am I investing so much, or as much, as I expect him to invest? Am I investing the same in my relationship with God? Am I doing the same? Obviously, I'm not. I expect him to do much more than I personally do myself. I don't keep all the 365 negative commandments. I don't. I may be okay with one of them, so I feel lucky, or luckier than the sinner. Yeah. But I'm not more virtuous. I'm luckier, but it's not a virtue. Yeah. I'm lucky that I don't have these problems, yeah. So I don't deserve the credit. to be, if I invest so much effort and I succeed, then I'm virtuous. This is a virtue.
Yeah.
This is an achievement.
Well,
But if I don't do that, I find it easy, and it comes easy to me, I'm luckier. That's all. Am I doing so much for God? No, I'm not. Okay. So,
are you doing it for yourself?
sorry.
Are you then doing it for yourself?
How do you mean?
Well, what I was going to say is, I know of a case where a man who is well looked upon within the community,
Yeah.
right the way through,
Yeah.
and was actually stealing.
Oh, if he's stealing,
He's
okay.
stealing.
Yeah.
And even with his son's help
Yeah.
from the community.
Yeah.
And he
Oh.
lost everything in dignity and all that, you know what I
Right,
mean?
right. No, but that's already bad. That's already bad. I'm talking about even a better case than that, where someone is genuinely good.
Yeah. Well, this
Not
he was looked
not a
upon.
rabbi that shows that he's good and
No,
he.
he was looked upon.
Yeah,
as
okay,
being good.
fine. But let's take somebody between him and himself, somebody who wants to be honest. Am I better than the sinner? Somebody who is genuine in life. He wants to know, am I better than the sinner? And let's take an example where I, for example, myself, I'm genuinely good with everyone. Let's say I don't rob anyone, I don't steal from anyone, I don't... let's assume, in theory, I'm really good. Does that make me better than the sinner in the eyes of God? And the answer is not necessarily. Because the reason why I am so good with God is because it's come very easy to me. I don't have the struggle that the sinner has. So that, again, the word I'm using, that does not make me virtuous, more virtuous than the sinner. That makes me luckier. That's all.
You refer to the standard of the tzaddik or the benoni.
Anyone who criticizes. A tzaddik does not criticize. We're talking about people like me. People like me, ourselves here, that we criticize. And how to stop criticizing? By feeling humble. We criticize a sinner. Now, let's be honest. Am I better than the sinner? The fact that I criticize him? So if I look deeper, I realize that I'm not as good as the sinner. And I'm worse than he is because I'm not investing as much as I want him to invest.
He
So-
doesn't see God your way.
It could very well be that he's trying very hard, the sinner, and he still sins because he's incapable of overcoming his obstacle. Let's assume we have a sinner who is a good person, who sins, but he is honest, he tries, but he still fails. For the two reasons I mentioned before. Does that make him worse than me? The fact that I do not sin? Not necessarily. I could be worse than he.
I don't know how God judges.
Because the Torah says how God judges. God doesn't judge
Exactly.
on how much we do. God judges on how much we invest with Him, how much we try, how much effort we invest in our relationship. That's how God judges us. Not in the number of good deeds, because I can do plenty of good deeds, but it comes really easy to me to do it. I don't have the struggles of others. Does that make me a better person? Let's take another example. A rich man who gives a lot of charity, does his actions, his multiple actions of charity, make him a better person than I, that I am a poor man?
No.
He is lucky to have so much money. In theory, I could say, if you give me all this money, maybe I can do the same or better. The fact that I don't have his wealth, therefore I cannot do so much charity, doesn't make me a worse person than he. The fact that he's got so much money, it makes him luckier, but not more virtuous than me. because he has it easy. He is blessed by God. He's got so much money. Okay, that's the idea behind it. And if that's one aspect of it. Let's say in theory, I'm someone who does not transgress any negative commandment. I keep them all. In theory, it's not true, but let's take the best case possible, that I do not transgress any negative commandments. Now we have the positive commandments: daven, light Shabbos candles, eat kosher. These are the positive. The do. Okay. Now the do, I can achieve the doing, but the doing I can do it even better. I can invest more into my doing. I can daven better. I can concentrate better. The doing has endless. You cannot. There's no way you can stop. You can say, okay, I'm doing all I can. I can invest more into my relationship with God, in doing more. If I give £5 tzedakah, I can give maybe 6, I can give 7, and I'm not. I can also improve. Let's assume I keep now all the 613 commandments. All of them. Can I do better in my positive commandment? Can I enhance and do better and add more and do better? And sure, I can. Am I doing that? No, I am not. I want to do it, but I prefer the easy life. I am fulfilling all the 613 commandments. It's all coming easy. I think I'm good in the eyes of God. I mean, it's not true. This is also a limitation, it's an obstacle for me that stops me from doing better. So if I criticize somebody who's got tremendous difficulties and challenges and temptations, and I expect him to invest so much effort in order to overcome that, I expect him. That's why I condemn him. That's why I criticize him. Am I investing so much in my positive commandments? No, I also have my difficulties. I don't want to do more, or I find it difficult to do more. I do the minimum. Okay, I'm doing everything. Let's assume I'm a big tzaddik. I do everything. There's nothing I don't do. But I can do more and better to enhance or invest into a relationship between husband and wife, or between a Jew and God. There's endless of investment. We can always invest and do better and better. But the fact that I'm not investing as much I expect him to invest makes me worse. So this is a way to make us or become humble to every human being, including the lowest of the low, and stops me from criticizing and judging somebody else. Because I'm no better. Even if in front of my own eyes I can see he's sinning, and it's obvious that he's sinning. And in front of everybody's eyes I'm not sinning. That doesn't make me a better person. That makes me a luckier person, but not a better person or more virtuous person. To take it slightly deeper, the fact that I criticize others, make fun, whether it's a physical disability, whether it's a spiritual disability that he's not doing better between him and God, or any criticism, it comes from arrogance. Let's track the source of arrogance. What is the source of arrogance? Where does it come from? It comes from the creation of the world, God, how God created the world. Now listen to this very, very carefully. I'm going to take it step by step. And it's going to be long. We may not finish today, but this is very vital. Let's take the human body. God took a body of flesh and he blew, it says God blew a soul into our body. He put a soul. So we are made of two things: soul, body and soul. Okay. Now the soul within us makes us alive now. We are, it animates our body. The movements and the way we talk and we communicate. So he took a soul into a dead piece of flesh, and now suddenly it's alive. This is the source of all arrogance in the world. Now listen to this. Okay, you know what? I'm going to tell you a story. Or actually, not even a story. You know, there's a lady called, a famous tzaddikus called Hannah. Hannah in the time of Shmuel Hanavi, the prophet Shmuel. Famous woman in the Tanakh. Everybody speaks about Hannah. And she once davened to Hashem. And I think it's in the Tanakh, Shmuel Aleph. If I'm not mistaken, Shmuel Aleph. The second parak, or maybe the third, I'm not sure. Third or second parak. Now, she says something very interesting. She says, actually we say it every morning before, En kelo, en kelo, keno, en kadoneno, en kemalkeno. There's a song. So before that, we says, Kavel Hashem chazak ve'ametz libecha. There is a phrase. And then he says, Ve'en tzur kelokenu. There is no rock like our God. Our God is our rock. This sentence comes from Hannah's prayer. She's the first one to say it, to use it. En tzur kelokenu. כן, 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 נכון, נכון. נכון, בדיוק, נכון. כן, זה נכון. So she says, En tzur kelokenu. The tzur means a rock, en means none, kelokenu like our God. There's no rock like our God. That's what she says. In the Gemara, there's a Talmud, a Gemara called Brachos. And then the Gemara takes this pasuk in the Tanakh, takes this pasuk, and it says, En tzur kelokenu, and the Gemara says, En tzayar kelokenu. En tzayar. It means the Talmud decided to change the word of Hannah. She says, En tzur. Tzur means tzadik vavresh, means tzur, a rock. And the Talmud says, En tzayar. Tzayar is tzadik yud resh. Tzayar means artist. Somebody who does paintings, you know. Paintings on the canvas, you know. So the Talmud says, En tzayar kelokenu. Yeah. Why the Talmud says that? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, the Talmud says En tzayar. What is a tzayar really? What is the definition of an artist? That's right. He is somebody who creates, who paints something. He takes colors, a brush, paint on a piece of fabric, and he draws something. Something that we can obviously understand. Whether it's a human being or a piece of nature, forest, anything. And what the artist tries to do, he tries to put life into this piece of art. To make it like alive. And when he succeeds, that's called the successful artist. That's called the good artist. He's able to put life into something which is really dead. Dead, which is literally a bit of paint on a piece of fabric. There's no life to it. And he's trying to draw it.
He breathes life into it.
Exactly, very good. That's exactly what he's trying to do. And that's a good artist.
What's in mind? What water? No.
Okay, yeah.
I'm okay.
So the more life an artist can put into a painting, the better the artist he is. And you pay more money for that. And the more life, and if he's able to do even more, it was just incredible. Just incredible. And that's what makes an artist famous and successful. So the Talmud says, God is an artist. He takes a dead piece of sand and flesh and earth, and he makes it look like as if it's alive, like we are, for example. Or the world, the birds, the fruits, the vegetables, the fish. Things are moving, a human being. So it appears to us that this dead matter is alive. That's what God wants us, that's what He's trying to do. And that's what the Talmud is saying. That really God is an artist. Okay. I'm going to give you an example. In 1999, in Manhattan, there was a huge exhibition of art at the Javits Center, Javits Exhibition Center. It's a huge place. It's for business exhibitions, for all types, even Jewish exhibitions. It's a big place. And actually there was a competition too, between many artists all around the world, and each one was presenting his piece of art and everything. There were judges also. And I think out of a few hundred of them, they ended up with 250. They selected 250. It took a week, actually. And from the 250, after a week, they ended up with just 2 to choose from.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was the last day. They invited the public and the judges at the head table. And they also put the 2 paintings at the back, and the 2 paintings were covered with curtains, curtains. So it means before looking at the painting, one had to remove the curtain, pull the curtain slide to reveal the painting, and everybody had to look at the painting and give their verdict and judge. Okay. So they started the event, and they started with the first painting. So somebody removed the curtain, they looked at the painting. Listen to these details. And the painting was about a grapevine with the grapes and the branches, the leaves. And it was really beautifully, it was a beautiful piece of art, full of life, to the point where even the leaves were going on top of the frame. And it looked like real leaves coming out of the canvas, the piece of fabric, going on top, covering the frame, the surrounding frame of the paint. And it was unbelievable. Everybody was, it was like a real grapes. But the stunning part came towards the end, before the verdict of the first painting. What happened is, for some reason, I don't know exactly how, there were 2 birds flying in the room. They came maybe from outside, and the birds went onto this painting and started picking on the grapes. Picking on the grapes, thinking the grapes are real. It was so alive. And that really stunned the judges. They said, this is incredible. Wow, you can see that it fooled even birds. The birds thought they were real grapes.
The birds have spoken.
Yeah, the birds have spoken, that's right.
Must have been of that stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, and everybody was impressed. And it was time to go to the second painting. And the artist of the second painting said to the judge, please don't bother with my painting. Please don't bother. I'm embarrassed. Don't even try to remove the curtain to look at my painting. Just go ahead and give him the prize. He's a finalist. He's the winner. It's too good to be true. Go ahead and give him. Just please don't look at my painting. And I'm just too embarrassed to show you whatever. So he made the judges feel bad and everything. So the judges, out of courtesy, they're trying to be nice. And they said, no, don't worry, let's look at yours too. And he says, please don't. And they said, yes, we should. And in the end, he accepted, okay, fine. So the judges, I'm not sure whether it's a judge or somebody else, got up and tried to remove the curtain to show the painting.
Didn't move, did it?
There was no curtain. There was no curtain. They tried to find the curtain. There's no curtain. The curtain was the painting. The painting was the curtain, but it looked like a real curtain. To the point where they got up to try to move the curtain, but there was no curtain. That was the painting. And the judges could not believe how real it looked. But they were so impressed to the point where they decided to make the second the winner, the curtain painting, the winner. And they, at the end, explained why. They said the first painting with the grapevines, that was so alive, but it was able to fool only an animal, a bird, but not a human being. We knew it was fake. But this, it fooled even a human being. All of us. Yeah. More than a bird. All of us. This is tremendously... And obviously the artist did it purposely. Please don't look, please don't open the curtain. To create this...
No,
and he got the prize.
I read about it.
Well, it's in the news anyway. It's in the news. It's a true story, by the way. It's such a, yeah, you can check on. Anyway, now there's 3 types of artists in life. There's 3 types, not only 2. One type of artist who is able to put life into dead matter, but that can fool animals only. Another artist, which is a much better artist, is able to put life in dead matter to fool even human beings. The human beings, our eyesight, when we see, we get fooled. We think it's a curtain, but it's not. It fools the human being's eyesight. The third artist, the best of all, is God. God, who is able to fool not only our eyesight, but all our emotions and feelings.
All our senses.
Everything. All our senses, exactly. All our senses. Our faith, our belief, our emotions, literally everything, not only our eyesight. God is the master of deception. An artist is the master of deception. God is the master of all masters of deception. He's able to fool the entire world to make it look like it lives on its own. We don't need God. There's no God. There's no source of life. It lives. It's all alive. And that's why a lot of people don't believe in God. He's the master of all deception. And that creates arrogance. Arrogance, there's no God. Just us. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's all fight for ourselves. And that's all there is. That's the world. The world is all about us surviving, do all we can to survive, and who cares about the rest? Because that's all there is. And it starts with the arrogance. Our arrogance starts from when God put a soul into our body. When He put a soul into our body, He made our body look like alive in itself, on its own. When He put a soul, He took dead matter, flesh, make it look like... And that's where the arrogance starts from. We need to remove this arrogance. Arrogance, to take it a step, maybe slightly deeper. Arrogance... You know, by the way, you know that the world, even scientists in physics or in science, they talk about the 4 elements. And that actually it's called fire, air, water, and earth. You know these 4 elements that all science use. Or actually it's called matter, antimatter, positive and negative. Or there's another language called the solid, the liquid, the gases, and the energy. Okay, there's always 4 categories that the world is created with. And actually, this is based on Kabbalah anyway. This is true. The Arizal talks about it at length, and in Parashat Bereshis also talks about it. This is real. So everything is created with these 4 elements. Not only the physical world, even the spiritual world. So you have 4 spiritual elements. Even the angels are created with these 4 elements. The angels. The solid, the liquid, the gases, and the energy. So the quantities are different. Maybe you have more spiritual energies than physical to make them look like spiritual. Our souls are also created with these four elements of esh, ruach, mayim, afar. Fire, air, water, and earth. Okay. So these four elements are four channels that the soul expresses itself through these four channels. Arrogance comes through esh, fire. Fire always has a nature to go up and up and up. The flame always trying to go up. Fire goes up. This is a behavior of the fire that when it comes into a human being and it's misused, it translates itself into arrogance, into a sense of superiority. I feel superior, greater, higher, like the flame going higher. It's just, okay. So let's study this element of fire to understand what arrogance is, and then go back to the original subject of feeling humble and practice humility in front of everyone to see exactly how the map, the structure of the system really works. So we understand everything in details. Okay, fire. Fire is really someone who has, I'm going to use words, but I want you to keep in mind these are negative things, and I'll explain why later. Somebody who is very confident. He's got a lot of confidence. I'm using that intentionally in a negative way. Okay, I'm going to explain to you why. Somebody who is super confident. Somebody who's got a lot of motivation, super motivated, very motivated. That comes from the fire element. Somebody who is a leader. He knows how to lead. That comes from fire. But all these three examples I'm giving you now, they are super negative, self-destructive, destroying the world and destroying himself. Now, one can ask, there's nothing better than being motivated. That's exactly what we should do. We should all be motivated. We should all have at least some self-confidence, to be confident. I remember last week you asked me about complex. We shouldn't have any complex. So to be confident is good. So these are good things, to be a leader, leadership, to know how to lead, and these are very good things. But I choose to display them, to use them at the moment in a negative way. Why? Which one is the negative one? Which one is a positive one? These three, self-motivated, super motivated, or super confident, or being a leader, if it makes a lot of noise, if a person makes noise about it, this comes from the fire element in a negative way. That comes from arrogance. Because he wants everybody to know, I am better, I am a leader. He's making noise about it. He talks about it. He wants the world to know. And he's selling himself. He wants to be a leader. He wants to be a rabbi in a shul. He wants to be a rabbi in a shul. He does everything he can to be a rabbi in a shul, to be a leader. Is it good? No. Obviously not. These elements of being super motivated and to be super confident and to be a leader, these are extremely good, positive things when it's done without noise. When the person is quiet about it, and he does things quietly. These are good. When it's done through noise, it comes from the negative side. The world is created with a balance of two sides. The yin and the yang. Like the Chinese have, the dark side and the light side. So everything you see in life are found on both sides. So anger, chaos, we always explain that anger is a bad thing to have if it comes from the dark side. If it comes from the positive side, anger is positive. Everything it comes from both sides. So now I'm using the element of fire in a negative way purposely, but it doesn't mean it's always negative. The same could be very positive. And the difference between the two is one does it with a lot of noise. He markets himself, he sells it, he wants everybody to know. how successful he is. He's the deal maker. Without mentioning any names, that will go into politics. He's known to the, he's a successful businessman. Everybody should know that he's the best negotiator. And he should be the one to do all the negotiations. He should be the one to lead.
He wrote a book about it.
I know. I know. Because he wants everybody to know how good he is. A holy man doesn't behave this way. A holy man is always very quiet, on the quiet side. But a holy man is a very talented person too. He's always very motivated. I met many holy people. Really, tzaddikim, and in history, in the Talmud, we know stories of people who are very humble, but very extremely talented, extremely motivated, extremely confident, and extremely good leaders too. But it's done from the humble side, no noise. Actually, these people who make a lot of noise, they normally oversell themselves. And they are not as capable as they believe to be or want you to believe they are. Yeah. So when they are put into the task, they achieve much less. And the humble people who are super motivated, super confident, and super good leaders, but on the quiet side, these people sometimes they achieve even more than they themselves believe they can achieve. Okay. From maybe another angle. Also from the element of fire. You have sometimes a very knowledgeable person, a professor, a lecturer, a very intellectual human being. These intellectual human beings sometimes, they can really hurt people's feelings. They really know how to do it too. From their arrogance that comes from the element of fire. Because they really know, or they really believe they know more than all of us. They really believe that. And that's why they are doctors, professors, they have titles. And so they become arrogant. And they really seriously believe they know more. So they are people who feel themselves much more than they feel us. They feel really highly of us. They are true exist. They exist more in their own eyes. They exist more. They are the value. They are the deal. Untouchable. They are the value. They are the deal. They are everything. They are the, and we are nobody. That's not it. And if you don't address them with respect or with a title, doctor, Mr., rabbi, oh, wow. And they want you to know who the Ichus is. I come from, my grandfather was the Arizal. My father-in-law come from, and they make that speech in public. Oh, you should know who my forefathers are. I come, my great-grandfather was, let's say, I don't know who, the Chassam Sofer, or maybe he was Rashi, a great tzaddik. And he says it in public too. He wants people to know. And he wants to know where his wife comes from too. And he wants, and they make a speech, it's important for them. What are you trying to achieve? Okay. So, these people, they need to be addressed with honor and respect. Otherwise they get upset. They get really upset. That's the arrogant part of it. That comes from the element of fire. And there, yeah, go on.
Isn't there like a thin line between arrogance and low self-esteem?
Okay. You know what? Let me answer that now because I think I may forget. If I leave it to the end, I will forget. Because this question was asked already second time. The first time was asked by yourself last week about an inferiority complex. And now second time you're asking about self-esteem. So if the question is coming back twice, I think I need to address it. Okay. You know, Maytal, you're a perfect woman, I know that. You're perfect. Are you? You are, yeah?
Yeah.
Really, seriously?
Anyone else be it?
Are you perfect? Are you perfect, yeah?
It's debatable.
Am I perfect?
Yeah.
As near as possible.
Far from it. Do you see the answer?
Far from it.
Do you see?
What?
Everyone says we are not perfect. Everyone is self-critical on himself, and nobody worries about creating an inferiority complex or losing our self-esteem. Not only that, it's recommended. If somebody tells you you're perfect, it's recommended that you should say, no, come on, I'm not perfect. And we should believe in that. That shows how good of a person you are. We should always behave in a humble manner. And you're right, the answer is good. Your answer is perfect. That you are not perfect. And I am not perfect. And we should train ourselves to think this way. And we say it publicly to everyone and we feel comfortable. No one is perfect. And everybody is happy to hear that. No one is saying, how can you dare say that? Nobody says that. How can you dare create an inferiority complex within ourselves? No, we are perfect. Nobody says that. Everybody is happy to train himself, to teach his own children, and to believe that we're not perfect. Yeah? Okay. That's an interesting point. I'm going to build a case here to answer your question on it. So it looks like by thinking we are imperfect, it doesn't cause any damage to our character or to our self-esteem. It doesn't create any damage, it looks like. It looks like it's a healthy thing to do. Yeah, we all say we are not perfect and we are happy with that. And we continue and everybody recommends it. I'm going to take it from a different angle now. You know, a child, when he does something wrong, he gets told off. Told off. And many educators, not today, but a few generations ago, they felt, at least from the 1960s, they tried to teach the parents not to criticize the child, or not to tell the child off. Don't tell him off. Approach him always in a positive way. Don't say no to the child. Say yes. And if you don't agree, don't say no. Say maybe you should do something in a positive manner. Change. Let's say somebody wants to drink a can of Coke, and you believe it's not healthy for your child. So instead of saying to the child, do not drink a can of Coke, they used to tell us, these educators or teachers, they used to say, don't say that. Say, maybe you want a glass of water instead, in a positive approach, yeah? Why? Because they believe a child should not get told off, should not be said no to, should not be, you should not punish him, you should not criticize him. That's the approach from the 1960s until 1988, 1990, or 2000 is becoming more strong, and they're making a U-turn now. They understand that saying no to a child is healthy. Okay, they're changing. Okay. Now, what is the real truth? Is it okay to tell off your child or any child when it does something wrong? Is it okay?
Yes.
It's okay. But the thinkers and the philosophers and the teachers and they used to say it was not good.
No.
It was not good. You know why? For the same reason that you mentioned and you mentioned, that it lowers their self-esteem after a while, and they end up with an inferiority complex and everything else. That's basically the bottom line.
Rabbi,
Okay.
can I interrupt? We were always told, if you're naughty, you were told, no, I'll give you a smack if you don't behave. But if somebody behaves, oh, you're a good boy, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, Mummy's very pleased with you.
Very good. I think you are saying the answer. I'm going to explain what you are saying, basically, in a much wider. That's the point. The point is this.
In Africa, they don't tell you that I will give you a smack. They just smack you.
Exactly.
Let me tell you what is the real truth according to the Talmud and the Torah. Okay. Nature is happy. The nature of a human being is happy to receive a rebuke if it's clear that he deserves it. There's nothing wrong with that. It does not destroy the self-esteem. It does not create an inferiority complex if it's clear. Even to the child who is 1 year old or 2 years, not very intelligent. I'm using these extreme cases. Intelligent people, you may say, okay, because they're intelligent, I understand.
Yeah.
We're talking about babies.
Yeah.
When they know they did something wrong, they get told off, and then they are happy with a rebuke because they know they did something wrong. That's a different angle from what I said before. Before I said the person should believe that he's imperfect and that does not cause any damage. Here I'm using a different approach, saying that even if you tell a child off or a human being off or anyone, no matter how many times, if he knows it's clear that he did something wrong, it really was wrong, and he needed to be told off, it's healthy. That's called education. That's called educating the human being to do the right thing. And that's healthy. It does not destroy, it builds. It builds the human being. So it's not a destruction in self-esteem or create an inferiority complex. It's the exact opposite. It makes somebody stronger and wiser and better. You learn from your mistakes, what people say. I'm using these two examples. Maybe I should use maybe 3 or 4 different from different perspectives to build that case. But I want to say something even stronger. When somebody criticizes me, a stranger criticizes me, I may be not so happy because he doesn't really know my intentions, know me, so sometimes I can be upset. And when he overdoes it, a teacher, sometimes it's got an impact and it can break me after a while. It can break me if a stranger does it to me. But if me, as a human being, I choose now to improve my behavior in life, I want to learn. It's not a stranger, it's me who is doing it to myself. I want to know where my wrongs are. I want to know where my wrongs are. What I'm doing wrong. I want to know where to improve. So I need to know my faults. I need to know. And the more I, if you want to call it, criticize myself, the better. So So when it's a self-criticism, it's very healthy. It can never destroy your self-esteem. Because you choose to do that, because you choose to do better in life. So it's a choice, a personal choice, that you do it consciously, intentionally, in order to achieve higher. So you build, you go to schools, to lessons, to lectures, to learn, and you realize where you do wrong. You do that. Some people even go to psychologists and psychiatrists to know where they go wrong, to do better. And that's healthy. An inferiority complex or low self-esteem is always created when there is opposite energies. Anyone who wants to search on the internet, it gives it a definition. When you have opposite energies, it means to say you have one conflicting with the teacher conflicts with the student. Or two human beings. Let's say you say something, you criticize me, I don't believe what you're saying, or I'm forced to accept your criticism because you are a man of power over me at the moment for whatever reason. And after a while, it breaks me. After a while, it's called brainwashed. Brainwashed is based on no truth. Teaching is based on truth. When it doesn't mean truth, it's not called brainwashed. It means you convinced somebody with common sense. So he's convinced. He's not called brainwashed. He's convinced, and to be convinced of something real, truth, is good, it's healthy, if it's based on truth. Brainwashed is when somebody is convinced, or he sold a lie. He sold a lie, and he is convinced that the lie is true. That's called brainwashed. So there is two types of things. To be brainwashed that Kim Jong-un is a god in North Korea. Okay, many North Koreans, they feel their leaders is really God. So that's called brainwashed. Why? Because it's a lie. Okay. But if, let's say, you have a teacher or rabbi who teaches people that God exists, or we have a soul, and he didn't know we had a soul. And now he's convinced that it's true, we have a soul. He's convinced that there is a God. And that's not called being brainwashed. That's not called being brainwashed, that's called being convinced that it must be true. That it is true. It's based on truth. It's not a lie. Brainwash is a lie. You sell a lie to somebody. Now back to the point of complex and self-esteem. So if we now learn how to be humble, and I choose now to go home after the shiur, go home and practice humility by really understanding that I'm not better than anybody else. Really, I'm not. And I have a lot of arrogance and I should get rid of a lot of it. In no way is going to destroy my self-esteem and destroy me. It's going to build me. It's going to make me a better person and stronger. Okay. I think this is in short. Just to answer the difference between having a complex, creating a complex, by realizing that we are not perfect, and by realizing the truth that we are not perfect, is not going to destroy me. By realizing the truth, it's going to make me stronger and better. And it's going to help me grow. That I'm not perfect. We teach everybody. We tell everybody, don't think you're perfect. We all accept it. The way you answered it is perfect. We are not perfect. But that will never destroy our self-esteem, knowing that we are imperfect. And the more we believe that we are not perfect, the healthier it is. Humility, humble, people who are humble, tzaddikim, holy people, it doesn't have to be Jewish. You have Chinese people, the wise men, Chinese, they're very, very humble. Sometimes they practice certain faith and certain things. No, they're very strong people. Very strong character. They have no complex. They have no loss of self-esteem. But they're very humble. They're very, really, really humble people. And these are people are called the wise people because they worked on their faults and they tried to become better people. They had to know where their faults are in order to take care, to get rid of them. Okay, so it's a big difference between practicing humility and that makes us better and healthier and stronger, and between that and being sold a lie, being told off without explanation, or being screamed at because you're a man of power over me and we conflict. That will destroy me. That will create a complex. That will cause maybe a loss of self-esteem and self-confidence. Yeah, it's true. Because this comes from a negative approach, a destructive approach, and one it comes from a positive approach. And that's why in life we know there's a difference between criticism and constructive criticism. And people say, oh, let's have a meeting, but please, only constructive criticism. And no one knows how to do it. You know why no one knows? Because they don't know what it means to be humble. They think constructive criticism is maybe an interesting idea. No, a constructive criticism. Let me give you an example to explain this better. You know, sometimes you have people, or maybe even in a community, a Jewish community, for example, sending a letter to, let's say, a big holy man, and complaining about their rabbi in shul. Complaining. You have people complaining about their rabbi in shul, or complaining about their leader in the community. Let's say not in a shul, in a community. Let's say Stanford Hill. And there's a leader that many members of this community do not agree with or find him difficult as a leader, and they have enough of this leader. They want a replacement, or they want advice how to deal with somebody so difficult to work with. And the holy man answers back a letter saying, I received your letter, and I received the list of criticism that you listed on your letter. Have you ever tried to also list the good things that this person does? Did you ever try to make a list of the good things that he also does? Obviously not in this letter, because it's a letter of complaint, yeah? But that's normally what a holy man will tell you. What is the difference? You can criticize somebody by looking at his negative side. You can. And that creates anger and upset. The holy man tells you, why don't you look at the good things that this person does first? It's true, everybody does bad things. And why do I need to look at the good things? Number one, because they are important things. The good things normally build. No one is perfect, yeah? No one is perfect, everybody has mistakes. So don't concentrate too much on the mistakes. Concentrate on the things that he does to build the community, that he invests, he builds, he creates, all the good things. These are real investments, real things. And number two, when you realize how much good he does, the anger disappears, the complaint disappears, and then now you approach the situation differently and you offer constructive criticism. Because you want to help now. You don't want to get rid of him. You want to be part, okay, I understand, he's really good, he's helping. It's true, there's a lot of mistakes, a lot of faults. We need to address the mistakes. We need to address the faults, the situation. We need to do something. But once you realize the good side of a human being, then automatically you offer constructive criticism. Automatically, naturally. You don't have to make an effort. But if you don't realize the good side of a human being, you offer only criticism, not constructive criticism. So sometimes, whether you have a meeting professionals, Jews or non-Jews, I often find myself in a non-Jewish environment. That's my business, so that's what I do daily. And I go to meetings, and sometimes we have big meetings, like a lot of people, buyers and the big companies. And sometimes they have debates, and you can see, it's so funny to see how they talk. They're so far from hitting the truth or the chords, the right chords of, they talk really nonsense, absolutely no. And then sometimes you see one of them saying, please, only constructive criticism, only. And everybody takes it seriously because he's the CEO of the company. He asked everybody to only come up with some constructive criticism. And they all try hard. Okay, let's try hard to offer constructive. They don't even know where to start from. And every criticism they think is constructive is destructive. So very often I find myself to be there like a small teacher. They respect me, they always make me talk. And they say, okay, you are the thinker. What do you think about the way we speak? And I explain this, I explain that, I explain the philosophy behind this, what is this? And for them, it's so new to them. They are so far from this level of understanding, analysis of human behavior, and depth of intercommunications between human beings. They're so far. They're so out of touch. And when I put everything, the puzzle into, you take the pieces, you make the puzzle, put it together, this is constructive, this is not constructive, this is, and explain why. They never knew these rules, and then it works perfectly, and everything flows. Because you understand. Everything falls into place. Everything works beautifully. We are lucky we have a map. God gave us the map of the human psyche, human behavior, the soul, the emotions, the intellect. We know how things work. And everything works perfectly well. Even non-Jews, when they have access to this knowledge, they are stunned, no matter how big of a professor you are. And there are many professors, big professors, when they hear this approach and these explanations, you can see how the mouth stays open. They don't know. It's like so new to them, but so beautiful and so real. And it works, and it's stunning. So, constructive criticism, it is criticism. It is. But it's criticism that does not cause loss of self-esteem or cause a complex. It is criticism, but it's called constructive. It means it builds us, makes us better, not worse or less or lower. It's a huge subject. I'm just giving you just to help answer your questions because you asked the question twice. But otherwise, we'll come up to this and it will make a full shiur on this subject alone to go into more details, to understand the depth and the beauty of it. And then nobody will have any problem when we learn Torah, we learn the concept of practice humility in front of the lowest of the low, nobody will say, hey, that's going to cause me a complex. Oh, hey, that's going to, I'm going to lose my self-esteem. Oh, it's all, the map is so clear. It's all beautiful. And we become stronger and stronger, not weaker and weaker. Next week we'll continue.
You're an artist looking at your own work.
Oh, my own work. I'm telling you.